What is up, guys? I'm your friendly neighborhood web war fanatic, and we just hit 2,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much. You know that when we hit a milestone like this, we gotta do some sort of appreciation video. So I know the end of the year is coming up, and Christmas is coming up. It's almost 2025, so I thought this would be a perfect time to make my buyer's guide for Marvel Champions. I know that a lot of you guys that are watching this channel do not have every single product in Marvel Champions, and you guys are still deciding what to buy next, and there's a lot of new players that watch the channel as well. So if you're just getting into the game, this would be my recommendations for what to buy for Marvel Champions. This video will include all the Marvel Champions products up to 2025. Okay, so before we jump into it, I do want to show you guys all the different products that you can get in Marvel Champions and make a differentiation for all of them. So let's go ahead and we're going to take a look over here, and we have, first of all, the Marvel Champions core set right here. This is a pretty big box, and the Marvel Champions core set is pretty much unlike anything else. So you need to buy this first when you start playing Marvel Champions, because this is all the hit point dials, the damage tokens, the threat tokens, and also like counters. This box comes with 5 heroes, 4 pre-built decks, and 3 villains. So you have a lot to play with. In my opinion, all of the heroes in the Marvel Champions core set are still super duper relevant to this day. I say this all the time in my videos, but I do not believe there is any power creep in Marvel Champions. So if you get that core set, you will have relevant heroes and relevant cards that will still help you throughout all the newest content. Technically, you do not have to have the core set to play Marvel Champions, because you can use dice or other things to track damage and threat and stuff like that. You also need this modular set called the standard set in order to play most scenarios, and the core set does have that in standard 1. However, Age of Apocalypse, this expansion right here, has a modular set called standard 3, which could also replace standard 1. However, I still highly recommend that everyone buy the core set right here because of the heroes, aspect cards, and villains that come in the core set, because there is just so much more replayability and self-sustainability. Outside of the core set, there are 3 other types of products in Marvel Champions, and the first one that we're going to take a look at are called hero packs. So right here I have the Deadpool hero pack and the Nightcrawler hero pack. Basically, a hero pack has everything that you need to play that specific hero. So it comes with its 15 identity specific hero cards, and then a pre-built, pre-constructed deck is also included. Oftentimes at the end of a hero pack, there's some random cards like some modular sets or other aspect cards and outside aspects that you can include in different decks. The next type of product that we have in Marvel Champions are called scenario packs. So right here we have the Mojo Mana scenario pack and also the Hood scenario pack. These are basically just a scenario featuring a villain that you can face, oftentimes including some bonus modular sets that you can mix and match with other villains. The Mojo pack, for example, comes with 3 different villains, Magog, Spiral, and Mojo, and the Hood, for example, comes with 11 different modular sets. The third and final type of product in Marvel Champions are called big box expansions, and these are much bigger than hero packs or scenario packs. Each big box expansion features 2 heroes and a pre-built deck for each hero, and also 5 different scenarios, so there's a bunch of villains to go around. So now we've taken a look at all the different types of products in Marvel Champions, let's hop back to the tier list. Before we begin, I do want to say my personal recommendation is to always get whatever you like the most. So if you love Spider-Man Miles Morales, get the Sinister Modus expansion first, because he is one of the 2 heroes that come from that. If you love Wolverine from the X-Men, get his hero pack first so you can play him. Hall of Heroes right here is the main website that I use whenever I'm looking at products for Marvel Champions, so I'll definitely put the link in the description of this video, but you guys can scroll down here and see all of the different products in the order that they came out. So the core set came out first, and then the Green Goblin scenario pack, and then the Captain America hero pack, and it just shows everything to the first big box expansion, the Rise of Red Skull, and so on and so on. Also, if you click on a specific product in Marvel Champions on Hall of Heroes, like the Star-Lord hero pack, for example, you can see all the contents of it. So you see all the cards that come in it. So Star-Lord and his 15 identity-specific hero cards, and also the aspect cards that come in the pack as well, and the basic cards, the Nemesis set, and some other random cards at the end of the pack. Obviously, everyone can just buy whatever they want, but if you're watching this video, I'm assuming that you want to know specific recommendations on what to get. So if we take out the you should just buy your favorite characters out of consideration, here are my specific recommendations on what I would do if I had no Marvel Champions product and what I would buy first. It's also very important to consider your long-term goals when you're purchasing products for this game. So I will be making 2 buyer's guides, and I'm going to split this video in half. The first part will be for players who do not plan on buying every single product in Marvel Champions and want to get as much variety as they can from as little product as possible. The next part of this video and the second buyer's guide is going to be directed for players who plan to get everything and want to know the best order for going through the game. I will put timestamps so you can jump to the part of the video that is relevant for the type of player that you are. Let's finally jump into it. So I have a tier list here, and S tier basically means that this can be the most bang for your buck. A tier still means very, very high value. B tier means it's not the biggest priority, but it's still very good to get. C tier means that you probably don't need to buy this. And D tier means I would probably not recommend buying this unless you already have everything else. So like we talked about earlier, the core set must go in the S tier. This is a must buy product. Even if it doesn't come with the tokens or the hit point tiles, I still think that the heroes and the aspect cards and the villains in the core set are so vital to the game and has so much replayability that it would still make it in the S tier even if it did not have any of the stuff that you need to play the game Marvel Champions. Let's take a look at the core set here on Hall of Heroes. So the 5 heroes that we have in the core set are going to be Spider-Man Peter Parker, which is my personal favorite hero. I think that he's one of the strongest heroes in Marvel Champions, and I think that with the cards in the core set, he can defeat every single villain on standard mode and most villains on expert mode. We also have Captain Marvel, who's highly touted as also one of the strongest heroes in the game of Marvel Champions. We also have Jennifer Walters She-Hulk, who is super duper fun to play with her dynamic to flip over to alter ego using split personality to her lawyer form, and then she flips over to her Hulk form here to Hulk Smash. And then we also have Tony Stark Iron Man. He is your classic build hero where you have to build out your suit, and he's still one of my favorite heroes to this day. And we also have T'Challa Black Panther here, who has a cool mechanic with his Wakanda Forevers, and he also has a lot of resources with his Vibranium right here. And then the cards that you can use to build your deck in the core set, here are the basic cards. Nick Fury, in my opinion, is the strongest card in the entire game of Marvel Champions. So if you do not purchase a core set, you will not have access to the strongest card / ally in the entire game. We also have the Avengers Mansion, which in my opinion is a staple card that goes in most of my decks. The Helicarrier, which is a great resource reduction card. And then we also have the 4 aspects, the aggression cards right here. We have the leadership cards right here in blue, the protection cards, and then the justice cards as well. The 3 villains in the core set are going to be Rhino as the first and easiest villain. And then we have Claw right here. And then the third and final villain in the core set is going to be Ultron. And Ultron, in my opinion, is still one of the top 10 most difficult villains in Marvel Champions. He's definitely an amazing challenge. He is a super duper well-designed and thematic scenario, which is still super duper tough to this day. Okay, so let's hop back to the tier list here. The Marvel Champions core set definitely goes in S tier for me. And for my next product in Marvel Champions that I think actually goes in S tier is the Deadpool Hero Pack. Now, I know what a lot of you guys are thinking. What? The Deadpool Hero Pack? What is he talking about? So in Marvel Champions, there are 4 major aspects: protection, leadership, justice, and aggression. Whenever you're building a deck in Marvel Champions, you have to choose one aspect, and you build the deck with basic cards and that aspect. There are aspect cards in every single product in Marvel Champions, so if you want to optimize playing a specific aspect, you will need a majority of the product in Marvel Champions to have all the cards of that aspect. The Deadpool Hero Pack, however, has a very unique 4th wall breaking gimmick called the Pool Aspect, and this is a self-contained single aspect that's only in the Deadpool Hero Pack. So let's go to Deadpool here on Hall of Heroes. So this is going to be his hero pack. So basically he comes with a bunch of pink Pool Aspect cards right here, and there are no other Pool Aspect cards in any other product in Marvel Champions. If you declare the Pool Aspect as your aspect, you cannot include protection, leadership, justice, or aggression. This would be your declared aspect. That being said, in my opinion, the Pool Aspect here, these pink cards are on par, power level wise, with all the other 4 traditional aspects. But you get all the cards in one singular pack. So if you have the Deadpool Hero Pack, you get the Deadpool Hero, of course, but then you also get every single Pool Aspect card in the game of Marvel Champions. So let's say, for example, you only have the Deadpool Hero Pack and you have these pink aspect cards right here. If you compare yourself to someone else that has every single product in Marvel Champions, you guys both have the exact same amount of Pool Aspect cards. Because the Pool Aspect is so self-contained, you're getting very, very high value for your money if you get the Deadpool Hero Pack. So if you are a player in Marvel Champions who wants to buy as few products as possible, and let's say you only buy your favorite hero, which is like, let's say Wolverine, for example, you can pair Wolverine with the Pool Aspect cards in Deadpool's Hero Pack, and you can build a very optimized deck with him in the Pool Aspect because you have the entire Pool Aspect card pool. Versus if you want to build Wolverine in protection, for example, you won't have any other protection cards other than the ones that come in the core set or any other product that you have. Going in that same line of thought, the Wasp Hero Pack is also an S tier purchase in my opinion. Let's jump over to her on Hall of Heroes. So if you buy the Wasp Hero Pack, you get Nadia Van Dyne, the Wasp Hero right here, and then her identity specific cards. And then for her aspect, for her pre-built deck, we have aggression right here. Her aggression cards are good, but I don't think they're the most stable aggression cards. However, she has some really, really good basic cards. So the Ironheart Ally right here is one of the best basic allies in the entire game of Marvel Champions. And since it's basic, you can include it in any deck no matter what aspect you choose. So if you're playing pool aspect, you can include this ally right here. If you're playing aggression with the red colors, you can include this card as well. If you're playing protection, you can include it as well. She also has Spider-Man Miles Morales ally, which is also another amazing basic ally that you can include in any deck. And then she also has the Power in All of Us. So this is a resource card when paying for any basic card like Spider-Man Miles Morales or for Ironheart right here. This card right here says double the number of resources this card generates when paying for a basic gray card. So when you pay for Spider-Man Miles Morales or Ironheart or any other basic card, even like the Quinn card right here, this card right here can generate double the amount of resources. The Power in All of Us was recently reprinted in the Iceman Hero Pack. However, I don't think that the Iceman Hero Pack has as many key universal cards as the Wasp Hero Pack. Because you can include Ironheart, Spider-Man, and the Power in All of Us in every single deck that you build, getting Wasp is very, very high value. Because you can build a deck with primarily basic cards, like the ones that we saw from the core set, like Nick Fury, Mockingbird, Avengers Mansion, and Helicarrier, and then just put a few really, really strong aspect cards in the chosen aspect that you want for your deck. The Wasp Hero Pack was one of the first hero packs that I personally bought for Marvel Champions back whenever I wasn't planning on buying all the products, and having access to her cards was a huge power spike to my card pool. Whenever I first started playing, the Deadpool hero had not come out yet, otherwise I definitely would have got him too. If you only have these two hero packs right here along with the core set, you have enough power and you have a big enough card pool to defeat every single villain on expert mode. And if you have your favorite hero, like a separate hero pack that you bought, like Wolverine for example, then you can pair it with these cards that are also in this kit and build a very, very powerful deck. The first big box expansion that I recommend that you guys buy is definitely going to be the Sinister Motives right here. And it's going to go in the A tier. I don't think it's as high priority as Deadpool and Wasp because these two hero packs are just so complementary to any other hero pack and the core set, and they're so universal. But of all the big box expansions, I definitely think that Sinister Motives is the best one. So let's go ahead and jump into Hall of Heroes and look at what's inside Sinister Motives. So the two heroes in Sinister Motives are Gwen Stacy Ghost Spider, who comes with the Protection pre-built deck. So we have a lot of Web Warrior stuff right here and very powerful protection cards, like What Doesn't Kill Me. And then we also have Spider-Man Miles Morales here, who is a very strong and powerful hero who comes with the Justice aspect as his pre-built, pre-constructed deck. Miles and Gwen, in my opinion, are two very unique heroes that cover so many different aspects together. Miles is a very versatile hero that can adapt to different situations and doesn't have a specific way that he needs to play. And Gwen, on the other hand, really wants to focus into her basic activations, and she has a lot of different responses and interrupts and really wants to be in hero form to get all of her effects off. Sinister Motives also has 5 villains, which are Sandman right here, and then we also have Venom, and then we also have Mysterio. So Sandman, Venom, and Mysterio are all very unique villains with very fun mechanics, and they are fairly easy on standard. They could be difficult on an expert, but there are definitely ways to maneuver around them and defeat them. And the next two villains that they have are the Sinister Six, which is a very fun and unique multi-villain scenario, one of my favorites in the game. And then the final and 5th villain in Sinister Motives is Venom Goblin, who is known as one of the most difficult villains in Marvel Champions. A lot of people say that he is unfair. A lot of people say that he's just super duper oppressive, and he is a very difficult villain. But I think that if you're not going to buy a lot of products in Marvel Champions, it makes sense to have villains that are very, very easy, but also very, very difficult. You want that full range of the spectrum, because if you only buy easy villains, you'll never know what it feels like to face a difficult villain. Sinister Motives is that box that has that fully encompassing range of villains. It is my personal favorite expansion in Marvel Champions, and also what I think is the best expansion. I have a more in-depth review on the Sinister Motives expansion because I just really like this box so much. But yeah, definitely a super duper solid buy. The next A-tier product that I recommend in Marvel Champions is actually gotta be Doctor Strange right here. And Doctor Strange, in most people's opinion, is the strongest hero in Marvel Champions. I personally don't see him that way, but I think that both sides would agree that he has some of the best aspect cards for protection in the entire game. So his hero pack, to me, has the best protection cards. So let's take a look. He has 3 really good allies right here, Brother Voodoo, Clea, and Iron Fist. He has a great protection event in Desperate Defense, 3 copies of that. He also has the Med Team and the Night Nurse, which is one of the best, most versatile protection supports in the entire game, along with the Unflappable upgrade. Just super duper solid and staple protection cards. The next hero packs that we have right here are just what I considered the most staple cards in a specific aspect. So if you really want to play protection, I think Strange has the best staple cards for that. If you want to play Justice, it's going to be Black Widow. If you want to play Leadership, it's going to be Captain America. And if you want to play Aggression, in my opinion, that's Wolverine with his really powerful allies in Sunfire and Psylocke. Finally, I have one more big box expansion that I think deserves to go into the A tier, and that's actually going to be Next Evolution right here. Similar to Sinister Motives, Next Evolution is very self-contained and has very strong and diverse heroes. So let's go ahead and take a look at Next Evolution right here on Hall of Heroes. So the two heroes are going to be Cable, and if you guys know me, you guys know that I believe that Cable is the strongest hero in Marvel Champions, but he also comes with player side schemes in his pre-constructed deck right here. So he also has Call for Backup, a really powerful leadership player side scheme, Lock and Load and Aggression player side scheme, and also a Protection player side scheme. Cable has the ability to include player side schemes from any aspect, but if you're playing any other hero, they can only have one aspect, right? So you won't be able to put all three of these cards into your deck. But if you're playing Aggression, you can include the Aggression player side scheme, you can include the Leadership one if you're playing Leadership, but Next Evolution also has basic player side schemes like Build Support, which if you defeat this side scheme, you can search your deck and discard pile for support with the cost 3 or less and put it straight into play. One of the most powerful player side schemes in the entire game of Marvel Champions. In my opinion, it is the strongest one, but it's very, very good and it comes in Next Evolution. And then you also have Domino as the other hero. She comes in the Justice aspect, but she also has a Justice player side scheme, and also she has Superpower Training, another basic player side scheme, which is also very, very powerful. So having access to these basic player side schemes, which you can include in any deck, and the aspect card player side schemes can improve your deck building tremendously and also really power up your card pool. There is also a great range of villains here, from Morlock Siege, which is a multi-villain scenario. We also have On the Run, which uses the same villains, but only one of them. We also have Juggernaut, which is a super duper fun and thematic matchup. We also have Mr. Sinister, which is one of my personal favorite scenarios in the game of Marvel Champions, and he schemes like crazy. And then we also have Strife to finish off the box, who's not my personal favorite villain, but he does have some very unique mechanics. So if you're not planning on purchasing a lot of products in Marvel Champions, I think that Next Evolution is a very, very good buy that will encompass a lot of different things. Next here for the B tier, I would definitely recommend getting Mutant Genesis. So Mutant Genesis, I think, is a really, really strong box, and is definitely in contention of being like an A tier level box, like Sinister Motives. However, Mutant Genesis is one of 2 X-Men boxes. The heroes that come in this box are Colossus and Shadowcat, but in order to maximize their decks, you really want all the X-Men cards that come from those X-Men hero packs, like Cyclops, Wolverine, Jean Grey, Storm, Gambit, Rogue, and so on, right? So while this is still an amazing product, it gets bumped down a little bit for me just because it is not as self-contained as Next Evolution and Sinister Motives. That being said, there will be other boxes that I think are more self-contained than Mutant Genesis, but Mutant Genesis is just such a fun and well-rounded box that it's still going to beat out other more self-contained boxes, even though it requires other stuff to really play really well. Because even if you don't get that stuff, you can still play the villains with the core set heroes or other heroes that you have and still have a lot of fun. Even if you are playing an X-Men character, you don't really need all the X-Men supports or the X-Men allies to play that hero, unless you're playing Cyclops. He kind of wants those X-Men supports and X-Men allies. Next, I'm going to put, in my opinion, the best scenario pack in Marvel Champions, and that's going to be Mojo Mania right here. So for scenario packs, I do feel like that they're less value than the other stuff because hero packs not only come with the hero, but they also come with aspect cards that you include with other hero decks. Big box expansions come with 2 heroes and 5 villains. Scenario packs usually only come with 1 villain, but Mojo Mania is actually really high value because if we look at it over here on Hall of Heroes, Mojo Mania comes with 3 villains. We have Magog, his scenario deck. We have Spiral, her scenario deck, and we also have Mojo. Not only are these 3 villains very fun and have very unique mechanics, they also come with 7 module sets that are super duper fun, including my favorite module set in the entire game of Marvel Champions, which is the Fantasy module set right here. So I would definitely recommend getting this scenario pack if you want to pick one because you get so much value for your money. So the next Marvel Champions product that I would definitely recommend is definitely going to be Mad Titan Shadow right here. And Mad Titan Shadow is definitely also a very self-contained expansion. Let's take a look at it on Hall of Heroes right here. The 2 heroes that come in it are going to be, we have Spectrum right here, Monica Rambeau, who comes in a leadership aspect with a bunch of really strong leadership cards, especially for the Avengers, like the Mighty Avengers right here. But you really want to be playing Avengers to fully maximize it. And the other hero is going to be Adam Warlock, who is a hero that you can include 4 aspects of whenever you're building his deck. So he comes with the equal amount of cards in each aspect. So he has 6 aggression cards right here. He has the 6 justice cards right here, 6 leadership cards, and also 6 protection cards to round out his pre-constructed deck. The villains in Mad Titan Shadow are really cool, but the big highlight of this box and why I recommend it a lot is because of the 3rd scenario, which is going to be Thanos right here. Thanos is one of my favorite villains in Marvel Champions because he is super duper simple, but also super duper tough. He comes with one of the coolest module sets in the entire game, which is the Infinity Gauntlet. So it's a permanent setup attachment, so it comes into play, and then it gives the villain +1 scheme, +1 attack, and you also have these 6 Infinity Stones right here. And you can give the Infinity Gauntlet to any villain, right? So if you want to do a what if with Ultron, you can give Ultron the Infinity Gauntlet. Thanos requires that you play him with the Infinity Gauntlet, but you can also attach the Infinity Gauntlet to any other villain that you want. And that will round out my B tier here. So if you do not plan on buying everything in Marvel Champions, this is kind of where I would stop. I probably wouldn't buy these last products right here unless you really want to support the game and really enjoy the game. To start out the C tier, we're going to put Galaxy's Most Wanted. Now, I know what a lot of you guys are thinking. You guys are like, what? Galaxy's Most Wanted? Almost everyone has Galaxy's Most Wanted in the D tier, if not the F tier. No one ever recommends buying this expansion, but actually, I really like this expansion. This was actually my first expansion that I ever got for Marvel Champions, and I really enjoyed it. Let's take a look at it here on Hall of Heroes. Let's jump into the 2 heroes, which is going to be Rocket and Groot. So Groot here's his identity-specific cards. He comes with amazing protection cards like the Starhawk Ally. He also has the Desperate Defense that came in Doctor Strange, and also Hard to Ignore. This is the only way to get Hard to Ignore, which is a very key protection upgrade if you're playing Perfect Defense. And then Death Focus right here is also a very key card for a lot of heroes that have a bunch of superpower cards. Next, we have Rocket right here, whose pre-constructed deck comes in Aggression, and he has a very strong aggression ally in Bug. He also has some staple aggression cards here in the Relentless Assault and the Hand Cannon right here. Now, the 5 scenarios in this box are the big reason why people do not like this box. So the first scenario is going to be Drang, and not much people have a gripe with Drang. He's fine. In my opinion, he's not the most fun just because he's a little bit on the easier side because you also have the Milan to help you out. Next, we have the Collector 1, and this is a lot of people's most hated scenario. I do think that it has a unique mechanic, and you really have to plan around and build your deck around this scenario if you want to defeat it, which creates some interesting decision-making opportunities. He's definitely very oppressive, but opens that range of different villains that we can face and introduces a very interesting villain mechanic. Next, we also have Collector 2, Escape the Museum. This, in my opinion, is one of the most fun scenarios in all of Marvel Champions, and it's a very cool adventure type of scenario where you're trying to clear off all the threat to win and escape, and it's not just about defeating the Collector, because if you defeat him, you cannot win. You have to clear off all the threat from the 3 main schemes. Then we have Nebula, who I really don't like. I think that Nebula is the worst scenario in the game of Marvel Champions. I don't really have anything to say on her. This is in the C tier of recommendations here, so she's definitely holding this box back for me. And then finally, we have Ronan the Accuser, who is, in my opinion, the most difficult villain in all of Marvel Champions. So if you're a new player, the biggest reason why I would recommend getting this box is so you can take on the most difficult villain in the game. When I first started playing Marvel Champions, I wanted to face the most difficult villain. I wanted to see what all the hype was about. So that's why this was my first expansion, because I really wanted to try out Ronan the Accuser. I think it's super important to test yourself against the most difficult villains in the game, even if you play him one time, don't like him, and never play him again, so you at least know how difficult the game can get and can relate when other people are talking about him. When I saw people talk about Ronan, I didn't know what they meant until I actually played him myself. Finally, Galaxy's Most Wanted also comes with the Ship Command module set, which is one of my favorite module sets in Marvel Champions, and we have that right here. So we have the Milano, and you are piloting the Milano, so you can exhaust to generate a wild resource, and the encounter cards that come with it. You usually need to exhaust Milano to do something with it, and to me that's super duper fun and thematic. Next, in the C tier, we have the Age of Apocalypse expansion. Now, I do want to reiterate, this list is not like a tier list for like what's the best product in Marvel Champions. I think that Age of Apocalypse is one of the best products. However, it's not as self-contained as all the other stuff, right? If you have the stuff in these 2 rows right here, Age of Apocalypse doesn't really provide anything else. I mentioned earlier that Age of Apocalypse has Standard 3, which is a new standard set, which could replace Standard 1 from the core set. However, it doesn't have to, and Age of Apocalypse is the newest expansion, right? So Marvel Champions players have been playing Marvel Champions for 5 years with only the standard set from the core set, and it's been fine. I personally prefer Standard 1 from the core set, but I can definitely see arguments of why Standard 3 is better. It definitely is more consistent. The only reason that I don't like it is because it's more stuff that clutters up my board and more things for me to do with the extra environment in play. That being said, I think that Age of Apocalypse is a fantastic product, but it won't expand the game for you as much as the other products before it would. This expansion right here is very streamlined and very in the middle, versus something like Sinister Motives has an easy range and a difficult range and everything in between. Next, we have the Hood scenario pack right here, and I also think that this is a fantastic scenario pack that expands the game. However, scenario packs are just not as much bang out your buck as big box expansions. Let's take a look at the Hood scenario pack over here on Hall of Heroes. So the Hood scenario pack only has 1 villain, the Hood, who is a fun villain to face, but it comes with 11 module sets right here. So we have a bunch of different module sets that you can mix and match with other villains that you're facing, like Ultron or Thanos. And then lastly, the Hood also comes with Standard 2, Expert 2. and this is known as the most difficult modular sets in the entire game of Marvel Champions. So if you're looking for the upper range of difficulty, you can play a super duper easy villain and give them standard 2 or expert 2 to make them tougher, or face the most difficult villain in the game like Ronin and play him on standard 2 expert 2 and just ramp him up even harder. Because of all these different module sets, I do think that the hood is very high value and gives you a lot of bang for your buck because you can mix and match with the stuff that you already have. However, it goes in C tier for me because if you don't have these products here to begin with, the module sets in the hood scenario pack really won't add that much, right? If you only have like the core set, I'll much rather get more hero packs and more scenarios first before getting the hood and those module sets. Lastly, in the D tier, we have the Rise of the Red Skull, and I think that a lot of people will disagree with me on that. That's just my personal opinion. The Rise of the Red Skull was actually the last expansion that I got, and I actually wasn't planning on ever getting this expansion. So huge shout out to Norris who got me the Rise of the Red Skull. If he never bought that for me, I would probably never have it. That being said, as someone that does own everything in Marvel Champions, I was missing out by not having the Rise of the Red Skull, but that's because I think every single product in Marvel Champions is amazing. So of course, as a Marvel Champions fan, having all the products here will round out my collection and expand my card pool and give me more versatility to deck build. If we jump over here to Hall of Heroes for the Rise of the Red Skull, it comes with Hawkeye as the first hero, and then we also have Spider-Woman here as the second hero. And I will say this, my favorite card in the entire game of Marvel Champions is this Peter Parker Spider-Man ally right here, and it came from the Rise of the Red Skull. So if Norris never gave me this, then I would never have this card, which I love playing. However, I don't think that this is a key staple card in the Justice aspect. What is a very staple card is actually the Skilled Investigator right here, which is a 0 cost upgrade. After a side scheme is defeated, you can exhaust this to draw a card. This is a very strong and key card, but I don't think by itself it can carry the Rise of the Red Skull and bring it up to one of these other tiers. The Rise of the Red Skull was the first expansion in Marvel Champions, and it's also the easiest expansion in Marvel Champions. But because of that reason, I don't really feel like I'm getting too much value whenever I'm playing it. So a lot of people recommend this as a first buy whenever you're playing Marvel Champions. But if you don't plan on buying everything in Marvel Champions and you want to buy as few things as possible, I think that you can definitely skip out on the Rise of the Red Skull and not really feel like you're missing out on anything. All right, there you have it. This is my first buyer's guide for players who do not plan on purchasing everything in Marvel Champions. I have very few hero packs and very few scenario packs on this list, and all of the ones that I did not put, I would personally prioritize lower than the D tier here. If you're trying to get into Marvel Champions and know you don't want to buy everything and want to spend as little as possible, this is definitely the priority that I will buy things. Let's go ahead and jump into the second and final buyer's guide. All right, so this is my buyer's guide for players that plan on buying everything in Marvel Champions and you guys just want to know the best order to buy things. So of course, my first recommendation is going to be the core set right here because this unlocks every other product in the game. Next is still going to be the same. I still recommend Deadpool next, and then Wasp, because I think that having these two hero packs just unlocks so many different things with deck building, being able to optimize playing the pool aspect, and being able to heavily strengthen your basic cards. Next, in the A tier, I am going to put Sinister Motives again here. I know it's looking like the exact same list, guys. I promise it will be different. Sinister Motives is just such a great box, but this time the main reason that we're recommending is because of the heroes, Miles and Gwen, and not so much the scenarios and having Venom Goblin as one of the most difficult villains in the game. Like I said before, Gwen Stacy Ghost Spider is super duper streamlined and she wants to play a certain way, which will teach the player to play that specific way. And Miles is super duper versatile, so a new player can get introduced to a game playing a powerful hero, inflicting sasses on the villain. Next, I'm actually going to recommend the Rise of the Red Skull here, and it popped all the way up here to the A tier from the D tier, and that's just because this box is the most easy box in the game of Marvel Champions. So if you get this after any of these other products, it'll feel a little bit lackluster compared to the other scenarios and villains. The reason why I would still recommend Sinister Motives over the Rise of the Red Skull is because these scenarios are just more fun in my opinion and will really hook a new player into the game. Next, I'm just going to put these 4 hero packs in the A tier here again, just because they have the most staple cards in their corresponding aspects. So we have Wolverine, Doctor Strange, Captain America, and Black Widow. After having all this standalone stuff right here, next for the B tier, I would definitely recommend just going ahead and jump into the X-Men package. The X-Men cycles are a little bit unique in Marvel Champions. We have Mutant Genesis, Next Evolution, and Age of Apocalypse, and this is actually a trilogy of expansions, and every hero in this wave are mutant characters. The order that I would recommend buying X-Men stuff is going to be Mutant Genesis as the first box, and then skipping Next Evolution, going to Age of Apocalypse, and then rounding it out with Next Evolution right here. And I do want to give a huge shout out here to D20 Woodworking. I saw him recommend buying the Mutant Trilogy in this order, and I thought it made a lot of sense. And the reason why is because Mutant Genesis has X-Men heroes and a lot of X-Men supports, and so does Age of Apocalypse. However, next evolution is X-Force characters, right? So it has Cable and Domino, and a lot of them are X-Men as well, but in the game of Marvel Champions, they do not have the X-Men trait, they only have the X-Force trait. I would definitely recommend buying these two boxes back to back and buying Next Evolution after it, because Next Evolution does not have as much synergy as these two boxes. And if you do plan on playing a lot of stuff with the X-Men archetype, I would definitely recommend buying the Storm Hero Pack and the Cyclops Hero Pack as well. If you don't care about X-Men as much, I would still recommend buying the boxes in this order, but just without the hero packs. Lastly, in the B tier, we're going to round out all the mutant stuff with Mojo Mania, which you guys know is my favorite scenario pack, and also the highest value scenario pack because there's 3 scenarios in it and 7 modular sets. Next, in the C tier right here, we're going to round it out with just the Mad Titan Shadow. I don't think that this expansion is as fun as the other expansions before it, and the capstone villain in this box, Loki, can feel like a slog. Playing Thanos here after all these other scenarios, I think is very thematic and fun, and he is a very epic scenario, so I do think that it fits to face him here after you face a lot of other villains in the game. Finally, to round out the D tier, we have Galaxy's Most Wanted, and that is because Ronan the Accuser is the most difficult villain in the game. So if you face any other villain before him, then you won't have as much of a build-up, right? Because if you face Ronan first, who's the most difficult villain, and then you face all these other villains, they'll just feel super easy by comparison. And then last but definitely not least, we have the Hood Scenario Pack right here, which will increase the difficulty even more with Standard 2 and Expert 2. So you can add that to any scenario to make it way more difficult, or even to Ronan to make him even more difficult. If I started playing Marvel Champions today and I had nothing, and I knew how amazing this game was, and I knew that eventually I would want to buy everything, this would be the order that I would buy everything. If you are a Marvel Champions player and you don't own everything yet, I hope that this video helped, and I hope that these 2 buyer's guides help. If you have any further questions, feel free to let me know down in the comments, and I will do my best to help. Let me know what you guys think about my buyer's guide, if you agree or disagree with anything. This is just my opinion. Thank you guys once again so much for 2,000 subs, and I will see you guys in the next video.